Hi YouTube, Coinpicker here. Here are my thrift store finds for the past week. It was a really good week for antiques, as you will see shortly. First of all, I went to the Value Village store in Vancouver, and I rarely find anything there. Everything's overpriced, but occasionally there are some gems that pop out. And I found this really cool souvenir package of Korean charms. They're probably recasts from the originals. The originals would have been made like during the mid to late 1800s, but I think these were made probably post 1960, probably towards 1970, going by the vinyl packaging. But still highly collectible. This was actually, I don't know if they did this on purpose, but it was actually in a little plastic box with like some random stuff thrown in, like a fleece piece of cloth or like a little small blankie, as well as those notepads that realtors mail to your house for free. But basically, yeah, I don't know if they were just jam packing it, because the box was actually perfect, same dimension as this. So they slid this in the front of the package and everything else was behind it. So maybe it was just to, this other stuff was to jam pack it. So I'm just figuring that if they left this on the shelf, people would like steal the charms or, mess around with it. But being in a bigger package, it'd be, I guess, more difficult to steal. So the whole package was $5.99 plus tax. Basically bought the whole thing just for these. The other stuff I will donate back to another thrift store. But check it out. So you could tell the original ones, the castings would be really crisp. And these ones a little bit fuzzy, you could say, but still not bad. I mean, still very collectible, even as a recast. I would say for the whole set, probably worth roughly about $50 to $75. Let's not say worth. Let's say what I can get on the bay, right? I do have a lot of the originals anyways in my collection. So those ones are really crisp castings. And most of the time they'll have like remnants of hand enameling, or you could say painting, like in their traditional colors of blue and red, sometimes green. But still, you could say it was dirt cheap. So, I mean, I would pay $6 just for one of them. And now, what else is there? Got this at the Salvation Army. And guess what it is? You see there's like two birds, wooden case. And funny thing, went to the store one day, and it's only when I went to the front counter to look around, this was like in a box, some random box with some like cutlery or other stuff right on the counter. And the lady said, oh yeah, someone got it from the case, their locked up display case, and was going to buy it, but ended up leaving, and she was going to put it back into the case shortly. So she goes, you better buy it before it's, maybe the guy will come back. She always does that. Talk about pressure sales, right? But it is a Southeast Asian Opium Scale, $9.99, which it's actually considered dirt cheap. The parts are made of brass, I think, a little bit of copper, and it's like a little mini scale. Now I could believe it, using it to measure or weigh your opium. This will be going into my collection because I actually do have a pretty decent collection of Burmese opium weights, the actual weights that go with these. Yeah, so see when the scale tilts to one side, you could see with that little bar. Online, usually these things sell between $20 to $40. All depends on, I guess, the quality of the carving of the case. And you know, they came with like different animal carvings. Like I saw one like with the elephant. These, you have like 2 birds. So it's coming from, I believe, either Cambodia or Burma or even Thailand. Basically, you know, Southeast Asia. Pretty cool. I would say they are probably late 1800s or turn of the century, you know, early 1900s. But mind you, this little part is aluminum. It looks like aluminum. I could be wrong, maybe steel. If it was older, that would probably be brass as well. So I'm figuring probably closer to 1920s. Total speculation, of course. And, oh, also picked up one of these. The condition is okay. You know, it's pretty good. It's not mint. The Swiss symbol, it's a little bit rubbed, but everything else is very tight. The little accessory parts are still there, but check out the price, $1.99. How can you go wrong with that? I believe online something like this in this condition, it probably sells about 30-40 bucks last time I checked. But this is earmarked for Coinpicker Jr. As you may know, he is the knife guy in our house. He loves blades. So I promised him that after I make this video, this will go to his collection. $2. That's cheap. All right, we'll move on. Got this. All right, it's silver plated. You can see the brass coming through, but it is very old. And it was only 99 cents. So if you could see here, Columbus, 1492 to 1892. And it says World's Fair. So it's World's Fair of 1892. You got a Ferris wheel. It's really funny. It's like, looks like some cartoon characters are like falling out of the Ferris wheel right there. And right on the other side as well. So sort of humorous, sort of dark, but 99 cents, and it's more than 120 years old, 130 years old. So that's pretty old. I thought it was cool. And that was from the Salvation Army. Got this on another occasion at the Salvation Army in Vancouver. They were rolling out, or actually, I went through the store, there was nothing until Mr. G, that's his alias, rolled out right before I was about to leave. He rolls out a cart of stuff to stock the shelves. So he saves the day because right away, you know, we always chit chat and he always tells me stories of what came through, who bought what, blah, blah, blah. Very cool guy. Anyways, I saw this in the cart. He always tells me, oh, Coinpicker, nothing good in the cart today, just junk. Or, hey, there's some good stuff, check it out. You know, he pushes it from the back to the front and, you know, their big cart, right? And then if he sees me, like, let's say in the middle of the store, he'll actually stop and say, hey, you want a quick peek? You could look, you know, he actually stops the cart for me before he rolls it to the other side of the store. Anyways, he always says something like, oh, the other cart, you know, the other guy prices out and, you know, it's like not my pricing. And you know, the manager prices like way too expensive, and the other guy, he prices it way too cheap. You know, so he sort of prides himself as being somewhat fair, but tilted to the more, you know, like reasonable side, because, you know, he thinks if it's reasonable, things would go, and, you know, because there's a lot of turnover, right? Like that's what they want, because they got a lot of donations. But anyways, I grabbed this off his cart, and this is an awesome piece of Chinese export porcelain made for the West. And you know, it is, I think I mentioned it last time, it is made prior to 1891, because in the States, they had this new law for tariffs, you know, for imports. So countries had to mark, you know, the country of origin under every item. This one doesn't have any mark. And the shape of it is actually made for the West, with Asian motifs. So it looks like a cup, but it's actually intended to be part of a tea set. It's a sugar bowl, missing the lid, which is okay. I mean, I would love to have the lid, but, you know, it's okay. I'll get whatever I can get, right? And it was only $2.99, which is dirt cheap. It is not English transferware. If you look closely, everything's like hand painted. But I really like the handles. Look at this. It's like so delicate, intertwined design. Awesome. Just like little butterflies at the ends here. And they're really detailed. I mean, like, they didn't glaze the inside of the rim, because if it had a lid, if it's glazed on the lid as well as the rim, you know, always putting it on, taking it off, putting it on, you'd like ding it and probably chip the glaze off. So they were actually very smart, the manufacturers, not to glaze the inner part of the rim. So I'm assuming the lid would have a part that sort of fits right inside, right? Of course. So Mr. G saves the day by rolling out some good stuff that I could buy before I left. But just the other day, I went to the same store, and Mr. G waves me down and he goes, "Oh, where were you yesterday? You should have came." I go, "Really? Why?" He goes, "You know what? They had something similar to what you bought last time, similar colors, but it was like a little porcelain candlestick holder, or candlestick, like this small, and it was only $1.99. I didn't price it. The other guy priced it, and that's cheap." So he goes, one of our regulars, some little old Chinese man who goes there every single day, stocks the place, actually snatched it up right away. So, I mean, of course I felt disappointed, because out of all the days I don't go, you know, I think I was like home, you know, taking care of errands and stuff like that. I decided to be a good boy and not to go to the thrift store just for that day. There you go. I always put it this way, you know, like, if someone else got it, that's his luck for the day. And, you know, sometimes I get lucky on certain days too, so you can't win them all. But I was curious what it actually looked like, because, you know what, Mr. G's funny. I mean, he's not a collector, but he can really appreciate the stuff, and he loves it, you know, when someone really finds something they really like. But, you know, this is the thing. You always let your imagination run wild, because you don't know, maybe he thought it looks the same, but it's like something from what they used to make at the Winners or for Winners, or from the Bombay company, like Modern Reproductions. So it could have been made in modern day China from the year 2005, had similar colors, but it was like more as a decorator's piece. Who knows? So that's why I had to remind myself, let it go, because you don't know if maybe it was nothing. Maybe the old guy bought something that was actually quite new. And I was lucky to actually recognize a real piece of Chinese export porcelain. So, well, which is, actually that same store produced 2 candlesticks of export Chinese porcelain prior to this piece, which I showed in one of my other videos, and it was right on the shelf, and I was just lucky at the time that it was plunked down, and I came, I guess, shortly after to, I saw it and snatched it up myself. So who says lightning doesn't strike twice? Seriously. But I'll just show you more of this. It's very recognizable because they exported so much during that time period, like in the 1800s. And they had huge factories in southern China, in the Guangzhou area, which back then the British called Canton, which is probably a bastardization of the name of the province, Guangdong, even though they were actually in the city of Guangzhou. So actually saw online, and there was many examples that looked identical to this, that had a lid, part of like some big like China set. So yeah, it's definitely not a one-off. They made lots of it, which is good. That way I can, know for sure what this is. So definitely will go into my collection of Chinese export porcelain. Maybe one of these days I'll find a lid, and then well, actually that brings me to another piece. All right, didn't find this lid, a lid for this, but I found a lid for something else. So this is also Chinese porcelain, but it is not made for export. This was actually made for their local market in China. And it's probably, I don't know, probably a little bit later than this piece. Probably 1900, maybe up to 1920. But they call this famille rose Chinese porcelain because of the coloring and decoration, and everything's sort of almost like enamel. It's like on top. And guys, it was only 99 cents. So even if I'm wrong and this ends up to be some sort of part of some modern Chinese item, it's not a big deal. But still, 99 cents, you can't go wrong. And guess what this was used for? It's not a dish. It looks like a dish. Okay, I'll tell you right now. It was part of a Chinese teapot, and their teapots, the traditional ones, did not look like the Western ones that are rounded and all that jazz, right? It looked more like a big cylinder with a spout, and they would have wire handles from the top, just like suspended, right? And they would use recessed lids. And usually those teapots would be nestled into a basket that had padding that sort of molded to the shape of the teapot. I guess it's, back then that was their way of insulating the teapot to keep the tea warmer or hotter longer. So I saw an example online that basically matched this with the rest of the teapot. And it was, at least 100 years old. Don't know, maybe they made some later on. I mean, I did see some more modern versions of it, but nothing with this exact pattern. They actually had different patterns in slightly different styles. But I don't know, maybe I'll just keep this as an example of this type of porcelain. Who knows, maybe I'll end up finding the teapot minus the lid, and then I have a complete one. Just like this, I just have to find a lid for that. Let's see. No, that doesn't look like a good match. That's made for the East, Made for the West. Too bad, huh? All right, moving on. 99 cents. So I think if I sold this, maybe I'd be lucky to get 10 bucks. And then that lucky person would have a lid for their teapot, which is missing a lid. All right, I found this. Usually I don't buy stuff like this, but it just looks so beautiful to me. And it was like 99 cents again. And I thought it was wood, but it's actually paper mache that just molded very nicely. All right, you guys guess what this is. At first I thought could it be like some sort of lacquerware from Russia? Because you know, Russia, Ukraine, they make, well, actually Ukraine, they make those fancy Easter eggs that are enameled. I don't know if it's enameled, no, it's painted. And then the Russian souvenirs, or what do you call it? Arts and crafts stuff, they have very similar looking painted objects. But I looked at examples of them, and their painting or painted objects are actually not as detailed like this. They would be like larger images. And these are tiny. Look at this. You can tell it's hand done. So there's like leaves, berries, all this. All right, there's no marking on the bottom. This is actually called, what was it called again? It's from the Kashmir region, which parts of Kashmir is in India, parts are in China, and parts, I forgot what's the third place. Well, you guys will correct me, I know. Another country, like it's like in between like the borders of 3 countries. Oh, Russia too. Maybe Russia too. Is it? No, that's way too up. Okay, totally forgot. But I know it's like the borders of 3 countries. And apparently, online, these are not cheap. I've seen something similar sell upwards towards $100. So pretty good for 99 cents. And that goes to show you, like, sometimes you may not know what an object is or where it's from, but if you recognize good quality, something unique, you know there must be some sort of value, because you think of how many hours it took someone like an artist just to carefully fill in all this stuff. Like, seriously, you pay me $100, I don't think I could even do it for you. You pay me $1,000, I definitely can't do it for you. Look at that. I mean, could have taken at least 2 days of work, or even 1 day, a full day of work to do this is still considered, you know, very time consuming, labor intensive. Plus you can't, I mean, sure, anyone could do things quickly, but you know, would it look as good as this? I mean, this is actually pretty decent. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, even if I couldn't get $100 for it, but even $50, I think it's worth it. But I will keep it for a while until I get bored of it. And then here is something very, very interesting. This ruby red jar, apothecary or pharmacist jar. And it's actually produced by a famous company. It is from Pyrex. Unbelievable, huh? Pyrex, TS Pyrex. I think that's a TS. Number 29. So this was actually on one of the carts that Mr. G rolled out, and I snapped up right away. Still has its original stopper. The only thing is there's a chip on the bottom of the stopper. I mean, nothing's perfect, but still, at least it, you know, when it displays, the chip is only visible when you pull out the stopper. And the color is not just flash color. It's actually in the glass, like the glass is red. So flash coloring is like, I think when it's just like a thin layer of a different color on top, either painted or, I don't know, dipped or whatever they do. So I'll put this off the side. So apothecaries or herbalist stores or pharmacies used to have these types of jars, and they came in different colors. Red is pretty desirable. And it is marked on the bottom, and look at this. I paid $1.99. That's why I definitely cannot complain about the little chip on the stopper. I mean, I think I would still have bought it even without the stopper. So it says here, trademark, Pyrex. Look at that condition. It's like brand new. Made, I know underneath it says like made in the USA. Oh, that. Be careful, don't break it. Gorgeous bottle. I mean, just to put on my shelf, my bookcase, I'm a happy camper. I have a blue one, probably a little bit older than this one, from another thrift store purchase. So this will go well right next to it. What do you guys think? Pretty awesome, huh? Anyways, these are my thrift store finds. Just love unique, beautiful objects, especially when they are cheap. There you have it. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Coinpicker out.